The existence of the institution of commissions and independent officers, therefore, must force us to stay vigilant at all times and mindful of every real boundary that exists between organizations and agencies of state and government, and by implication of the clear, inevitable, and rigid limits constitutionally imposed on the power and authority we exercise in the public interest. The performance of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in the last general election and all the circumstances surrounding it are illustrative of this point. A while back, senior politicians teamed up to manage the presidential succession that was due in 2022, with a view to guaranteeing a very specific outcome of the ensuing election. A political mechanism was therefore instituted to facilitate this objective through the capture of autonomous constitutional bodies. In the case of the IEBC, this mechanism resolved to infiltrate the organization by introducing at its highest level 4 sleeper commissioners whose sole task was to lie in wait for the election, then spring into action and take drastic actions to subvert the will of the people. You have heard how the scheme was hatched in Parliament. At the same time, the mechanism constituted a syndicate to execute a series of strategies consisting of bribery, blackmail, extortion, threats, and intimidation of various public officials of the IEBC, attempt their abduction, torture, and assassination, to storm the National Tallying Center and attempt treasonous insurrection, use of violence to cause the alteration of the vote tallying, as well as entice or bribe or force the IEBC chair to announce their favored candidate, or failing this, eliminate him and replace him with a willing accomplice from among the sleepers. The horrifying drama at Bomas and the emergence of breakaway commissioners answering to external instructions represented a dismayingly low point in our democratic history. A policy to subvert the wishes of the people had even been sanctioned at the highest offices of the state. The sovereignty of the people was in jeopardy. Our fundamental constitutional attribute as a free, open, democratic society based on constitutionalism and the rule of law was under severe test. Chapter 7 of the Constitution on the representation of the people was subjected to the most shameful, egregious assault. As a result, the nation's legitimate mechanism for constituting parliament and the executive was under serious threat of chaos and paralysis. This is the magnitude of the atrocity which shamefully desperate criminal spectacle of the Bomas of Kenya represents. The unfortunate events of 2007-2008 are fresh in our minds. By the time we hauled ourselves out of the abyss that was the 2007 post-election crisis, we had lost thousands of lives, millions of livelihoods. We had lost confidence in our institutions. We had lost a lot of hope, and we had lost political sense. The 2022 assault was intended to go much further and subject this country to a much more insurmountable existential predicament. In the midst of this menacing storm of violent criminality unrelenting corruption, and reckless determination to subvert the Constitution, dismantle institutions, and take our nation apart, a ray of courage and integrity was shown on us by God's grace. The leadership of the IEBC, comprising a minority of the commissioners, the Secretariat, and the staff of the Commission, rallied together and resolved to vindicate the democratic will of the people of Kenya. At great personal cost to themselves, they worked under extremely harrowing conditions to deliver an election which met the constitutional standard and announced results that were beyond reproach. Regrettably, IEBC officers were murdered in the course of duty by actors interested in compromising the elections. Many more were subjected to serious threats, coercion, intimidation, and all forms of pressure by emboldened agents of impunity. We now know that Chairman Wafula Chebukati, who is in this audience, and Commissioners Abdi Yakub Gulie and Boya Molu, as well as the CEO, Hussein Marjan, and their staff, were offered stupendous financial rewards to cooperate with the agents of impunity, but they bravely resisted. I think these good people deserve a clap, a much. We also know that they were subsequently threatened with dire consequences for them and their families if they did not do the system's bidding and overturn the choice of Kenyans. Again, we know that they stood strong and firmly said no. Can we clap for these people? Chairman, stand up, and your two commissioners and the Marjan, please let us clap for those great people. You may take your seats. We also know that there was a direct attempt to abduct Wafula Chebukati and murder him so that the commission would be paralyzed, or a compliant commissioner take over and subvert the people's sovereignty. It was a hard, cold, and lonely time. The threats were dire. The promised rewards very lavish, and the pressure relentless. It matters always that a public officer endeavors to do the right thing. It matters even more that a state officer did not once hesitate, even for the briefest moment, to stand his ground and do the right thing under the circumstances surrounding the announcement of the final presidential results in Bomas. We salute with great admiration the steadfast and the steadfastness, integrity, and leadership through example that Wafula Chebukati provided at the IEBC. It is this uncompromising commitment to his constitutional responsibility that enabled Chebukati lead IEBC in learning effectively from the 2013-2017 elections to deliver an election that met the highest standards, and in fact, that was unstealable. It takes a person who can stare death in the face and nevertheless